inravio.com.
Hello everybody, this is Joe Larson and you're watching the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show. Welcome to another night of race talk here from the studios of Inravio on Long Island. It was fun, we got here pretty early today because there was no traffic on that horrible Oathland Merge that I talk about all the time. No traffic, so we got here early, so here we are. So I want to welcome everybody tonight. We want to start off tonight with a little bit of sad news. I hate starting off with sad news, but why not just get it out of the way? Buddy Baker passed away, 74 years old, from the ill effects of cancer, a dreaded disease. He was referred to as NASCAR's gentle giant at 6'6" tall. He had 19 wins in the Sprint Cup Series on the top level at NASCAR, and he also won the 1980 Daytona 500. With an average speed of 177.6 miles per hour, a record that still stands today. 1970, he was the first driver to top the 200-mile-an-hour mark at the Talladega Speedway in Alabama during a practice session. He was son of the legendary Buck Baker, a NASCAR Hall of Famer Buck Baker, and he was a NASCAR Hall of Famer. Buck Baker in winning of the 1970, say that 3 times fast, Southern 500 at Darlington. In that race, I'm sorry, that was Buddy Baker, and he lapped the field in that race, something you will not see today in any series of the top level because NASCAR would not allow that. They'd have a competition yellow or something, debris in turn 3 or something to that effect to put out a yellow to tighten the field up. In 1998, Buddy Baker was named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. Retired from racing in 1992 and went right into transitioning into the TV booth as a commentator. Buddy Baker, he was 74, he will be missed. He was one of the soft-spoken guys in the garage area. I had the opportunity to chat with him once in Daytona, just talked racing. Same day that I was lucky and honored to sit and talk with Junior Johnson and A.J. Foyt. It was the day before they would receive their jackets for being NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. An honor. Buddy Baker, 74. Anyway, we had a good weekend. Took a trip to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl again. Guests of the management and ownership of the Speed Bowl. And I got to tell you, I want to thank them again. Mike and his team do an awesome job in making us feel welcome, kind of giving us carte blanche to whatever we need to do, wherever we need to go, wherever we need to talk to. The drivers and officials are readily available for us, and we had a good time walking around and got to talk to a few people. And one in case was Doug Coby, NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion, and currently battling for the points for another championship this year. Doug was driving a Supermod, and I was like, wow. I mean, he just hopped in the car and did it. He won earlier this season in it, and he finished second at Waterford Speed Bowl, running the Supermod. I've watched him race for a good number of years, probably about 15 years, 14 years on and off, and I'll tell you what, one of the smoothest competitors I've ever seen. We recorded some interviews. We're going to be showing them at a later date. We talked racing with him and Todd Szegedy, as well as Ted Christopher, TC, as he's known. And we had a good time talking with Teddy. Teddy, time permitting, is going to give us a shout. He's going to come on and talk to us later on, the second half of the show. Teddy, as you know, owns his own business. For those who don't know, he owns his own business. and it's just sometimes tough for him to break away. Plus trying to keep a race car in order and all of that kind of good stuff. So we're hoping to be able to speak with him later on in the show. And for those who didn't know, Teddy won the Valenti Modified Racing Series race at the New London Waterford Speedway this Saturday night. Well, let's put it this way. He was the first to cross the line in dramatic fashion. And I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of modified races, and I've seen a lot of modified races in my lifetime, and hundreds and hundreds of modified races. And I don't say this often, but I'm going to say this. That had to be one of the most exciting modified races I ever saw in my lifetime. They were slicing and dicing through the field from the front of the pack to the back of the pack. And the thing that I like about the Valenti Modified Racing Series, and I've never watched one of their races in its entirety. I've seen a couple of laps when I was with the Whelen Modified Tour, and we raced, you know, at the World Series at the Thompson Motorsports Park. I would get to see a couple of laps, but I never really saw them race a full 100 laps. And these guys race 100 green flag laps. When I heard that, I said to myself, oh man, we're going to be here forever. But I'll tell you what, cautions were few, and it was racing. And when I say racing, there was side-by-side action. They were slicing and dicing. And they have that no-fault rule that I talked about last week, that I thought that Woody Pitkat and the Rich Savory deal was a little but I'll tell you, and I understand the concept of the rule. I don't necessarily agree, because rubbing is racing, and sometimes it's going to be bumping and grinding. But there were guys, I mean, when I tell you they were side by side, they banging and bumping, yeah, but nobody got squirrely, nobody got sideways, and nobody went into the infield as a direct result of any of the pushing and banging. But here we got, you know, TC Ted Christopher led a majority of the race, and then late in the race, maybe like 3 or 4 laps to go, Chris Pasturak, son of Charlie Pasturak, who NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour standout years ago. There he was, man. There had to be, there's a 30-year difference in age between these two, and they were slicing and dicing, running hard, running harder, running harder, and all of a sudden, Chris just goes by him. Goes by Teddy like Teddy, you know, stopped to blow his nose. And then there was another restart, and Chris took off. He probably had a 3 or 4 car length lead over TC. And the next thing you know, that there's a caution. Chris didn't want to see a caution, because with a lap to go, Teddy did that famous Teddy Christopher move where he goes up high and he shoots down under, and he goes on to win. So we thought. Post-race inspection, sails through with flying colors. Boom, done, you're in. Good thing, everything's good. See you next time. 12 hours later, TC gets a phone call from the series director telling him his fuel was no good. And according to Race Day Connecticut, an article in Race Day Connecticut, TC was disqualified Saturday from the Valenti Modified Racing Series event at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl due to a fuel infraction 12 hours after the event. Race Day Connecticut went on to say that, and I quote, absurdity reigns over the Valenti Modified Racing Series. Now, the original story for this, or the original issues that they talked about, had to do with a situation that happened to Keith Rocco, a Todd Zegedy situation, and then 2 Saturdays ago with Woody Pitkat and Rich Savory. And now let's add to it this situation. I was never an inspector when it came to checking fuel post-race. However, I watched it done hundreds of times. You take the fuel, you put some drops of the stuff in, and if it turns a certain color, there's additives in the fuel. Other than that, it's not a big deal. Well, Teddy bought his Sunoco race fuel, because that's what it was. It was a little bit of a mixture from the last race that he bought it at that track, and this race to top off. The color was a little off. And from what I read, because the color was a little off, and it took him 12 hours to determine this, he was disqualified. Now let's go back to some of the things that happened that Race Day Connecticut would say that absurdity reigns over the Valenti Modified Racing Series. Earlier this season, Keith Rocco was DQ'd from a runner-up spot and was told weeks later when he went to the next event, that he was DQ'd because he was questioning why he didn't get his money yet. Nobody thought to call him. Nobody thought to get in touch with him. Todd Szegedy was DQ'd from a victory at Claremont, New Hampshire Speedway, told a week later. And then, of course, 2 Saturdays ago with the Woody Pitkat incident, that last lap pass with Savory, and they made contact. And Pitkat then went on to finish second, which would have given him the overall, because it was a twin feature, there was 2 races in one. And if you won both, if he came in second, he would have been the overall winner for the 2 events. And they take it away from him. Now, just this past weekend, Rich Savory finds out he's docked 50 points for his part in the Pitkat situation. Now, I gotta ask this question. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you wait a week or 2 later? You know, and a lot of people say, and I've had this disagreement with people, you should watch a videotape, you should make a decision based on a videotape. I think that just slows down the show. But to go weeks later, in this case, in 3 different occasions, weeks later, to make that decision, that's totally wrong, in my opinion. That's totally wrong. When I was, and I know people don't like when I say this, and they make little comments behind my back, but I hear pretty good now. That, you know, oh, who does he think he is? You know, he's got to get over himself. No, you know what? When I made a decision, I made it right then and there, and I told that competitor, I didn't send like another official, hey, go tell Goggles Paisano he's being put to the back. Don't go tell Goggles Paisano he's DQ'd. No, I went and told that guy. I said, go get this guy and bring him to me, or girl. And I told him. And I took the heat from that person. I didn't send him a letter in the mail. I didn't call him up on the phone. I went face to face with that person. And you got to take your lumps. If you're going to be in this position, you got to be able to take the heat in that position. You don't wait weeks later. You don't withhold somebody's money when they think they won a race. And then when they start pushing the issue, oh, we didn't send you money because you were disqualified. See, and that's a disservice to the sport. And that's a disservice to the guy who came in second, maybe, who now doesn't get the opportunity to have the accolades of being in victory lane. Now that person's going to get, you know, next time we see you, we'll bring you your trophy. It's not the same. It's not the same with your crew chief, you know, and your crew runs out, your car owner, and all that kind of good stuff. That's not the same. It's not the same feeling. You know, in Big Bill France, years ago, back after the 1959 debacle at Daytona, where it took him 3 days to determine the winner, looking at different pictures and different photos from different angles, and awarded the win to Lee Petty. Big Bill France said that day, no fan will ever leave a NASCAR event, one of my races, without knowing who the winner is. So you keep the win. If you decide that there was something illegal or something that caused a disqualification, you keep the win. In my opinion, you keep the win, and then what you do is you dock points. You don't pay the money out. You make whatever the payoff was a fine, something. But you know, when the fans go home on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon, those fans should know that certain driver that they saw across the finish line get the checker flag, go to victory lane, and celebrate was still the winner on Monday, Tuesday, or in the event of the Valente Modified Series, a month later or 3 weeks later. I really thought that series was going to be different. I thought that series was going to save the money for these teams, which it has, and be run in a way that it was competitor friendly. That's not competitor friendly. It's not competitor friendly at all. It's not friendly to the sponsors, and it's not friendly to the fans. And it makes these decisions with a telephone call weeks later, or in the case of a fuel infraction, 12 hours later. Nobody knew it that night. Would they take the fuel home? I got a question. If I was a competitor, I'd question the integrity of that test. Why did the fuel leave the racetrack, and why was I called 12 hours later? I would have to question that. You know, and Rovin, I'll tell you right, man, this was a series that looked good. It was taking a lot of competitors out of the Whelen Modified Tour, not because it was soliciting, not because it was begging these guys to go, not because it was let's pay these guys off and get them to come race with us. No, they went one because money was tight and it was a less expensive series to run. The officiator was a little different, and the crews didn't need all this equipment, and they don't make pit stops per se, yeah, you go into the pit area, but it was just one of those things. And it's just not right. What's happening there is not right. And you know, WJ, you're right. That is part of the problem, you know. And the other problem that I see is there's one person that controls everything. Yeah, there's always should be one guy at the top. But the guy at the top, and I'm not saying this is the case in the Valenti Modified Series, but the guy at the top shouldn't be the series director, the race director, the tech director, and the chief scorer. I don't think that works, because there's no check and balance there. Enough said with that. When we come back, we're going to have race in the early years, and we have an old interview that we have with Jim Kelly at the Marty Himes Museum of Nostalgia when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rick Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, we're going to punch in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
I never saw that before. That was nice. It's the little things, folks. The little things. Hey, 22 figure eight hit the nail right ahead. That I had two people on the top of the red phone line. Oh yeah, the memories. Anyway, gonna go to racing in the early years with an interview with Jim Kelly at the Marty Himes Museum of Nostalgia. Here you go.
InRavio.com.
Standing here with Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was around with Hank D'Angelo, Al D'Angelo back in the day, with the modifieds and everything else he ran back then, because he ran just about everything.
Al did. Al ran full midgets, TQs, stock cars, dirt, macadam. We traveled all over the Eastern Seaboard when I was younger. So hence my interest. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great show for a real nice man, and taught me a lot. Taught me a lot, not just behind the wheel, but about life itself. I started in 1968, and beginner's car, ran about 3 or 4 shows, and we won 3 out of 4, and then we got turned around, got flipped in the air and caught on fire, burnt the car to the ground. So came back about 6 weeks later, and we continued. The following year, we came back out with a sportsman car, and ran well, ran a modified at the end of the year, and then Uncle Sam tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I'd do some time in Southeast Asia, so I did that. And came back in 1972, drove a modified at Riverhead. 73, came to Islip for the first time with the big boys. And back in the 70s and 80s, Islip was the premier track just out on the eastern seaboard. 40, 50 modifieds in the pits, 12, 14 modifieds in the heat race, 16, 18 modifieds in the consi. You had the best of the best. Hendricksons, the D'Angelos, the Freddie Harbacks. I mean, you just name it. The Artie Tappins. So I was in awe of these people.
HeatRadio.com.
Jim Kelly hit the nail right on the head there. Back in the day, big car counts in heat races, consi races, non-qualifiers, the last chance races, whatever you want to do, call it, having 14, 15 cars. Now, in some racetracks around the area, you can't even get that many cars in a feature, let alone having 4 heats of those, 14, 15 cars in heat. And it's just a whole different era. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know if the competitive dollar is no longer available. I don't know if, because there's so much to do now, no matter where you are throughout the country, there's so much to do that, you know what? There's other things to do than go racing. What you used to see is the father would race, and then the son would race, and then the grandson would race. And there's not a lot of new blood coming into racing. And I think that's what's hurting the sport today. There's not a lot of new blood coming in. And it's a whole big different ballgame. I remember when I first bought my first figure 8 stock car, it was 1978. And it cost me $750. And it was a decent car. I wasn't going to win anything with it, but it was a good car for a guy just starting out going racing. I didn't have the motor that some of the other guys had at the time, but it was $750. And the pit fee was $5. So you entered the pits and you paid $5, and if you got your $5 back if you took the green in a qualifying race. So I was like, wow. It's really only costing me fuel, because the tires we had back then on the figure 8 stock cars were Hoosier recaps. And when I tell you, and other guys will tell you, the longer you raced them, the better they got. It was just one of those things. It was so different. Now, and I'll talk about a figure 8 car. You want to go get a competitive figure 8 car, you're talking probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. If not more, to buy, and when I'm saying a good chassis, rolling, ready to rock with a decent motor. And if you're lucky enough to have a decent figure 8 car, and you go to one of the engine builders, your motor's going to be $5,000 or $6,000, and they went to the V8. So it's a whole different thing now with racing. Same thing with modifieds. Back when I can remember going to Islip Speedway as a kid, and Earl Sonny Granger was the announcer, and he would get up in the announcer's booth, and the 20 modifieds or 25 modifieds would be on the track. I guess 24 it was, come to think of it. 24 modifieds would be on the track, ready to go run their feature. And before they were introduced, Sonny Granger would say, on the track right now, you're looking at $250,000 worth of equipment. Because back then the cars were about 10,000. It was 24 of them. That's $250,000. Now, forget about it. He couldn't be able to say that, because the cost has just skyrocketed. And back in the 70s and 80s, you could make a living racing. You could make a living and drive race cars and drive at different tracks. And now you're kind of limited. The payoffs haven't gone up that much. However, the cost to race has escalated 100-fold. And when I say that, and it's over my lifetime, that's a big disparity. And the money's just not there anymore to go racing. So that's why you don't see a lot of new people coming in. That's why you don't see the new faces coming in. You know, other than in the modified series, you don't see a lot of new cars being built. You know, the late models and the street stocks and whatnot. You know, those guys are just keeping what they have, and unless they bend it, they bring it out the following year. Yeah, they'll throw a clip on it or two, or they'll change body panels. But you know, and that was the other thing. You know, you can go now to your local racetrack parts supplier and buy. I need a quarter pound, I need a roof, I need this. Whereas back in the days, you went to the junkyard and you said, I'm looking for whatever, 74 Nova, 56 Ford, whatever you were looking for, Chevelle, and you know, and you would take the whole car because you would eventually need all the parts. So. And WJ hits it, you know, he hits it right on because promoters' error is the main reason for expense increase. Too bad the purses didn't follow it. You know, and I can remember years ago, it was probably like late 70s, and ISO Speedway had this street stock division. So there's a big meeting with the late Big Bob O'Rourke in the racetrack office out on Long Island, and we're talking, and I go to the meeting, and I remember Bob O'Rourke says, how many guys here drove over street stock last year? So, you know, half the room raised their hand. He goes, how many of you who didn't raise your hand plan on racing one this year? A couple of guys raised their hand. He goes, and the rest of you guys are just breakers. And yeah, we were there for curiosity. Well, the street stock guys wanted to be called late models. We want to be late models. We're not street stocks. There's nothing street about our stock cars. We want to be late models. So they changed the name to late models. True story. And all of a sudden, the cost of this race car doubled, and the purse stayed the same. So what does that mean? The promoters allowed that to happen. No, guys, you're street stocks, all right? End of story, next. That's what they should have did. And you know, like W says, a modified win in 1977 at ISOP Freeport was $1,200 to win. In 1977, 38 years ago, now at his local racetrack, it's $1,450 to win. All right? 22 figure eight, got a figure eight car at the wrong time. His junkyard car he barely could afford 2 years later. He was racing against junior late models. And he's not wrong. He got into figure eight racing just when it started to skyrocket because there was a handful of figure eight drivers here on Long Island that wanted this, that wanted that, they wanted the other thing. And next thing you know, they weren't junior late models, they were late models. They were late models. Yeah, they got a nice payoff and it was all good, but man, oh man, you kind of price yourself out. Anyway, a couple of things I want to do. While we're at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl, it was a special night at the Waterford Speed Bowl. It was called, let's see, Wings and Wheels. Everything that ran there was open wheel. Everything. And super modifieds, SK modifieds, Valente Modified Tour, to name a few. And Buffalo Wild Wings was the sponsor of the event, and Buffalo Wild Wings was good enough to give me some t-shirts to give away in exchange for that little plug. So we're going to do a little trivia thing. Now, because I don't really see the chat room that as often as I used to because I'm in a different spot and I don't chat back anymore. If you want to win this, you need to call in. You need to be the first caller. 855-446-7284. And here's the first question. Let's see. We'll make it easy. Richard Petty's last event was run in Atlanta in 1972. Who made their Sprint Cup Series debut that day? First person to call in will get this nice Wheels and Wings t-shirt from the New London Waterford Speed Bowl, compliments of Buffalo Wild Wings. So, anyway, I have the answer, and I'm the judge, so whatever I say goes. So, you know, what do they say? The judge's decision final. Is that the discretion of the official in charge? That would be me. So anyway, but it was all good, all good. Anyway, we're going to try to reach out for TC Ted Christopher if we can. And once he comes on, if he can come on, we will talk. And the 22 figure eight, you need to call in if you want that t-shirt. 1-855-446-7284. because I missed one the last time that they said it in the chat room, and and I had to give out 2 prizes, and for those who didn't see in the chat room, 22 figure 8 said the shirt probably will not fit him anyway. I don't mean to laugh, but I'm laughing, but it's all good anyway. What do we got? We got some news here. According to Race Day Connecticut today, Ted Christopher will drive for Chris Hour in the Whelen Modified events at Thompson and Bristol, filling in a seat that was usually occupied by Keith Rocco. Rocco was out due to a broken hand. I saw Keith at the Waterford, New London Waterford Speed Bowl this past Saturday, walking around with his little infant, and he had what appeared to be a cast on his right hand. But it didn't stop him from putting on a serious show there in SK's, a podium finish for him. But I'll tell you what, I guess it's a lot different when you're driving an SK type modified as opposed to a Whelen Modified Tour or a Valenti Modified Racing Series Modified. He was going to ride it out, see how long ago, and they made it happen. So hopefully he heals and gets ready. But Owl Motorsports has gotten a win at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and Teddy Christopher is a top runner. He has won in just about everything he's driven. And I know one of the things we talked about with Teddy, when we talked on Saturday afternoon, Teddy Christopher has driven everything there is and then some. When I say everything there is in NASCAR, he's run modifieds. He's run in the weekly series with an SK. He's run the K&N Pro Series, Campbell World Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and even a Sprint Cup Series car. Even though he was humbling, and when we talked about it, he says, "Man, basically I was there as a start and park." And you know what? When you look at the finish, Ted Christopher's name is in the Sprint Cup Series finish. Whether you're starting park or you ran 100 laps or 200 laps or 150 laps, whatever the race was. And I'll tell you, one of the things we talked about was how my first interaction with Teddy, and I had heard about Ted Christopher. I heard about how rough and tumble he was. I heard about how tough he is to race against. I heard about his little 3-tap rule. 1 tap, I'm here, 2 taps, get out of the way, 3 taps, you're going. I heard about all of this stuff, and I expected to see this guy, this big muscle-bound guy, real mean and gnarly looking, and I see this guy bopping through the pit area, and I hear somebody say, "Hey, Ted, how you doing?" And it's not clicking. It could be Ted. There's a lot of people, and all of a sudden I said, "That's Ted Christopher." Now later on, I had to go talk to him and his crew chief, Barry Canola at the time, and his crew chief and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But it was a respect, it was a mutual respect, and we had to test each other. And I had to go talk to them, and I was like, "Oh, I dread this. And it turned out that from that first interaction in 2003 with Ted Christopher, we had a good understanding with each other. We could talk outside of racing. We could talk racing. I would ask for his advice on things and things like that to help me a little bit, do my job a little bit better, and help me to get a better understanding that not every incident on a racetrack is on purpose. Some of those incidents that occur on a racetrack are just 2 cars going for the same piece of real estate at the same time. Nobody wants to wreck. Nobody goes to the racetrack. Picture this. Anybody in the chat room that's raced, you're driving down the road to your local racetrack and say, "You know what?" You say to your crew chief, "I think I'm going to wreck today." And your crew chief goes, "Yeah, it'll be good." No, nobody does that. You go out there, you want to get the best finish possible, and sometimes, you get a wreck. And 22 figure out, I'm telling you what, for those who don't know George Brown is very similar, but he made, from what I thought, he made George Brown like a cartoon character. It's just, man, the guy goes out and he wins everywhere and doesn't take no nonsense. So it was one of those things. But it was an interesting thing. But he taught me a lot. So yeah, anyway, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I'll have some more T-shirts to give away, and then we'll have some more trivia, and then we'll get into the Watkins Glen results when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the Proto Men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. On the line from Plainfield, Connecticut, race car standout TC Ted Christopher. Teddy, welcome.
What's up, Joe? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for giving up some time. I know you're a busy guy. What's this deal? What, the fuel was no good after that victorious race on Saturday?
I don't know. They said they put 12 gallons of Sunoco in it. I don't know what the heck the deal is there, but it seems like every week the True Value Series wants to boot somebody or take points away for some reason or another.
Now, you didn't find out that night. When you went home that night, you have the trophy, you're ready to go, you're celebrating, you got the win. When did they actually call you and notify you?
Oh, I know. We were there for probably an hour and a half after the race.
Oh, they did?
They never said anything, and they called me like 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
Right, right.
I mean, you know, the one guy saying, yeah, we had it tested. Then I call the guy who says, the tested. He says, no, there was just a color test. We looked at the color. I'm like, you couldn't do that Saturday night? And see that or tell me? I don't know. It seems a little fishy, but it seems like that's the MO of the True Value Series.
Right. Now, you know, it's and I've been, as you know, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of modified races over the year, and that had to be one of the most exciting races I've ever witnessed, with you and Chris Pasturak, slicing and dicing late in the race. And
so many people said that. You know, it was a great end to, you know, it was a great finish and stuff like that, and everybody went crazy and they liked it all. And then, you know, the disappointing end comes on Sunday when, you know, they decide to do something different. But
now, in watching that, on that, he got by you. And all of a sudden, it looked like he was checking out. And I was like, I thought maybe you used up tires. They got a little bit too hot. And then a caution flag comes out. And I said to the guy next to me, I said, this is just what TC needs, man, because he's going to cool those tires off, and he's going to take this kid to school. And that's exactly what you did. Tell us what transpired on that last lap.
Well, it's like I had a good restart, and then he got into the side of me pretty good, and I was like, you know, the plug sort of came unplugged at that point in time, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I was going to try to do it in 3 and 4 going outside, but you know, it just he still had a pretty good run, so I followed him through off a 3, you know, to the white flag, and he was actually staying pretty low, and I said, all right, I've done this move a bunch of times at the track. He went low, pushed up, I crossed him up, you know, because if you look at the YouTube video too, I was up a lot higher than he was coming out to the, you know, the start finish line.
Right.
Made a good run, got a good run off a 2 there, and you know, at that point I had my left rear almost to his door, probably about halfway down the straightaway, and I said, well, I'm sailing this thing in here no matter what, and he knew it. And you know, we've got a little side by side, and I said, I don't really want to run them side by side to the checker, so I boinked him a little bit, and off I went.
Wow.
It was a good run.
It was. I'll tell you, like I said, it had to be the best, not one of the best, the best modified race that I have ever seen in my lifetime. And I've been watching modified races for over 40 years. And
I appreciate it.
It was awesome. And I was telling the folks earlier about it, how, you know, when I first heard of Ted Criswell, I was like afraid of you because you were a rough and tumble guy. And I went up to you, and you're just like a regular guy, man. And it's like a cool thing to see Ted Criswell not in a race car, and you have to deal with him. I wouldn't want to deal with you on the racetrack, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, we've had some good talks through the years when you were NASCAR official, and a little different out of the car than in the car, aren't I?
Yeah. Anyway, I saw in Race Day, Connecticut, you're going to drive for Chris Auer and Auer Motorsports in a couple of events. Tell us a little bit about that.
When Keith broke his hand, and they said that they weren't going to race, you know, probably like, they definitely weren't going to race Stafford, Thompson, and I imagine they probably weren't going to run Bristol, because Bristol's really, really tough on yourself as far as you've got to be in good physical shape, and you don't want to really have a problem if you miss shift or anything at that place, because you could cause some serious damage to yourself and other people, you know. So I figured they probably weren't going to run there too. So, and I took it upon myself to, you know, call Brad and offered, you know, I said, if you guys are going to go to Bristol, I said, I would love to go to Bristol and drive that car for you if you wanted to, because we had a lot of success when I drove for him with the 36 car. We were always fast there. He got a pretty good setup for that place, and they've won the last couple of years in a row. So, you know, it's a good car, a good team, and everything. And he said he would run it by Chris, and I hadn't heard from. I think this was like last Wednesday, and I hadn't heard from him. You know, I raced Friday and Saturday and stuff. So then I called him on Sunday and asked him if anything was happening, and he said that he would. He'd text Chris and find out what he's doing. The next thing, he called me back a couple hours later, and he said, would you be interested in doing Thompson and Bristol? And I'm like, yeah, I know that would really spike my interest for sure. So we decided to do that. You know, it's been a little bit of a financial thing trying to do the tour deal myself and everything, and it's only for a couple of races.
Right.
You know, you can take a couple of races, not spend any of your own money, and drive for a really good team and stuff. I figured I'd do it, and they wanted to do it, so here we go. This Wednesday, next Wednesday.
There you go. Well, I know you elected not to run the Whelen Modified Tour event at Monadnock to go for not only state points but national points by staying at the weekly series. Was that a tough decision for you to make, Ted?
Hold on, Joe. My dog's barking. Sit down. What's that, Joe? Sorry about that. I got a couple shepherds. They like to be protective.
So your decision to not to go to Monadnock and run at the New London Waterford Speedway, was that a tough decision for you to make?
With that what?
When you didn't go to Monadnock for the tour race.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, we had a bad race in New Hampshire. We had a good first half, and then the second half didn't turn out so good. The car got torn up pretty good. You know, we had dropped in points and stuff. And, you know, it wasn't like it was last year. We had a tremendous year last year with Bob. We ran good and everything. But, you know, if you're not really running for the points deal, which, you know, I mean, he sort of likes to try to run some up. But for me, if I'm going to run for points, I run for points to win the championship and stuff. And we dropped pretty far, and it wasn't like we were going to be fighting for the championship at the end of the year. So I elected not to go there. You know, and I'll probably end up not going to Riverhead either at the end of the month here. Because, you know, I've been doing a little bit better in the regional deal, and that could turn out good at the end. You don't know. You don't know until you go and try.
There you go. Well, Teddy, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to give us a shout and talk about your feelings about this past weekend. And as always, I want to wish you continued success. It's always a pleasure to watch you race and talk with you. We had some good times over the years in the tour, and I only wish you the best, Teddy.
Oh, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to have me back on, just give me a call, and I definitely would like to come back on again. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen,
All right, Joe. See
Ted
you.
Christopher,
Bye.
thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next one.
All right, bye.
I'm ready. It was good. Ted Christopher did a nice job, and the guy's a gentleman, and even though they took a win away, he still was able to talk in a positive note there. But now there's options. There's options, and this is what happens when you have a situation like that where you have a drawing card, and Ted Christopher's a drawing card, no matter what he races in. Let me tell you something, and what you have there is now a guy that might not go back to the series. He might go race somewhere else, because when you're not running for points, you're running for wins, and he hit the nail right on the head. So I want to thank Teddy for that. So anyway, the judges made a decision on this shirt. The judges made a decision. Now, again, New London Waterford Speedball, Buffalo Wild Wings and Things event that they had this weekend. Here's what the back of the shirt looks like. It's pretty cool, actually. So, being that the 22 figure eight guy, other than when the Stanley Cup playoffs are on, doesn't miss a show, we're going to send his three girls T-shirts. So, 22 figure eight. I'm feeling generous today, and you're a good guy, and I know I wrecked your car up a few times, so I'm going to try to make up for it by giving you 3 T-shirts. Yes. And before we go to break, we got another T-shirt here, compliments of Budweiser New England, that they gave us to give out. And basically, this is a nice little shirt here. Summer bucket list. They had buckets of beer they were giving out, raffling off. So this question is, and we're going to take a break right after this. This question is, the original name of the Talladega Speedway when it was built in opened in 1969, built in 68. The original name when we come back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris West Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with InRavio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. Again, I want to thank Ted Christopher for taking the time out of his schedule to come on and talk to us. It's always good when you get a guy of his caliber to be able to take time to get in touch with us and talk racing. So, but anyway, and WJ, close, very close in that answer. Very close. Yes, but anyway. All right, what do we got going here? All right, the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour was off this past weekend. They will be heading to Bristol on August 19th in a combo race with the as it's now known as the Northern Tour, the Whelen Modified Tour, which was in Stafford on Friday night for 150 lapper. Won by Ryan Preece, with Doug Colby second, Woody Pitkat third, TC Ted Christopher was fourth, Justin Bonsignor fifth. Let's see, Patrick Emmerling, sixth from the pole. Timmy Solomino, seventh. Eric Goodale, eighth. Bobby Santos, ninth. And rounding out the top 10, Chris Dow Davey. So that's how it happened with the Whelen Modified Tour. They will be in in Thompson this Wednesday night. And this is where their schedule gets back-ended. And there's a lot happening because then next week they'll be headed to Bristol. So the Whelen Modified Tour and stuff. And, it gets to the point now in the season, you're looking at your points, where you're at, and you're going to go, if you're not really right there, you're going to look at the top 10 maybe and try to break into the top 10. And Jay Slice, WJ's closer. But that's what's going on with the Whelen Modified Tour. The Camping World Truck Series was off. They will be Saturday. Let's see, where are they going to be Saturday? They're going to be at, Michigan. And then the Xfinity was at Watkins Glen this weekend. Very beautiful day. I watched parts of the races this weekend, and what they had was perfect weather. People sitting up in the hills doing their thing, so it was all good. So anyway, the Xfinity race was won by Joe Logano, who started on a pole, followed by Brad Keselowski. Chris Buescher was third. Boris Said fourth. Ty Dillon was fifth. Brian Scott was sixth. Chase Elliott seventh. Elliott Sadler eighth. Paul Menard was ninth, and Brendan Gaughan rounding out the top 10. The Xfinity Series will be at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for their next event. In the Cup race at Watkins Glen, another fuel situation. Joey Logano took down the win with Kyle Busch second. Kevin Harvick looked like he was going to win. Ran out of fuel coming off the last corner. Matt Kenseth fourth. Kurt Busch fifth. Clint Bowyer sixth. Brad Keselowski seventh. Carl Edwards finished eighth. Sam Hornish Jr. ninth. And Jimmy Johnson rounding out the top 10. A.J. Allmendinger sat on a pole, finished 24th. So that's what we got with that stuff. Here on Long Island, the Fire Department drill teams. Fire Department drill was in Hempstead, New York, this past weekend with the Hempstead Westerners winning the title. The Central Islip Hobos were second. The Port Washington Roadrunners third. New Hyde Park was fourth, and the Hicksville Hicks rounding out the top 5. This Saturday at 8 a.m., the state parade and drill will be held at Ridge. Over 65 teams going. Ridge, New York, at the Brookhaven Brookhaven Park there, where they have the fire department races for all of the Brookhaven teams. I believe that Selden is the host team, but the track is in Brookhaven. So again, if you've never seen one of these drill team races, they're modifieds with a ladder on the back. And WJ is the winner. It was called the Alabama International Motor Speedway or Super Speedway. We'll let that go. The Alabama International Motor Speedway, name being changed to just Talladega. And when you say Talladega, 2.66 miles, the designer for Talladega was the same engineer who designed Daytona, but what he did is he wanted to make it with a little bit of a twist, and he did. And made it a little bit bigger. The banking was a little bit taller, and the drivers that drove on that for the first time, some guys didn't want to run it. I kid you not, you could look it up. Right, anyway. All right, let's see what we got. All right. I guess I got a couple more shirts. We got a Bud Lime t-shirt, I believe, that we're going to pull out. Bud Lime. This is an interesting shirt for those of you who never had Bud Lime. Again, compliments of Budweiser New England. And it's Summer On. It's green, so it's not going to show. But you can see what it says. It looked like almost a ghost. But here's the question. Here's the question. And if you were paying attention earlier, I gave you the answer. The first driver in a top-level NASCAR series to top 200 miles an hour. It's a two-part question. Who and when? And I think I gave you these answers throughout the show. But anyway. So what do we got this weekend coming up? All right, so we got the Cup guys. I guess where are they headed? I think they're going to Michigan. I didn't write this down, but they're going. I believe that's where they're going. And if somebody out there knows different, please let me know, because I don't have that piece of paper. Oh, well, whatever happens. But anyway, we got about 5 minutes left. So again, I want to talk about my experience this past weekend at the New London Waterford Speedboat. There was a packed house. I believe they ran 7 features, if I'm not mistaken. It's on the back of this shirt. Let's see what they did. They ran 7 features, and the features started approximately at 7. The Donald is correct with that answer. Broke 200 miles an hour at Talladega. But these features, when I say they came out on the track lined up, ready to rock and roll, no delays. One of the things that used to be my hot button, and I'm going to say this, was a guy would spin at my local racetracks and sit there and wait for the yellow. That's my hot button. If you could go, because you're going to lose the lap anyway, because I'm not calling that yellow out until at least the lap's completed. So you're going to lose the lap anyway, so you might as well go. Next caution, you'd be brought back up with the field. I'm thinking, well, these guys would spin, and they would keep on going. Now, yeah, the track is, depending on who you talk to, I've heard it's 3/10, I've heard it's a third. People say, is it 3/10? No, 0.33 is a third. But anyway, it's no matter how you slice it, it's like a third of a mile. And, yeah, you loop it and you're sitting in the grass. You know what? Yeah, you lost that time. You lost that lap. You got to hope for another caution. But that nonsense doesn't happen. I don't know if because they addressed it in the driver's meeting. I don't know if it's because the guys got penalized in the past, but it keeps the race going, because even with transponders, you got to, the yellow comes out, there's another lap for everybody to get the yellow. Then you got to put the field in order, who's pitting, who's not pitting, all that kind of good stuff. And there the unique thing is they can still come out even though the cars are on the green. But I'll tell you what, the management and the staff of that racetrack, that facility, they were right on. They did everything right. They had a hospitality tent with Buffalo Wild Wings and Budweiser. They had some cars in the midway, fan-friendly. Food was awesome. And again, Mike and his staff at the New London Waterford Speedboat, this made my staff feel really, really welcomed. And just about everywhere, and I say just about everywhere we go, we get that welcoming. So it was good, and looking forward to going back. They have some outlaw race coming up in the next few weeks. We're going to go to that and go from there. But no, Jay Slice hit the let's see. I mean, the Donald got the trivia question. And I got a couple more shirts. I'll save them for next time. But, and I'll actually have a Valenti Modified Racing Series shirt to raffle off too at the next show. So it's all good. But anyway, we got about a couple minutes left. So we're going to just start to wrap up. It's good to see WJ in the chat room. It looks like he's feeling okay tonight. Always WJ, always in our prayers. For those know that he's fighting a battle, and it's a battle that just doesn't end. The Donald, I don't know what you're writing there. Where don't you get that welcome? Wow. That's not even a spell check. That's a grammar check. Play with the verbs a little bit and rewrite it, Donald. But anyway, like 2 minutes left. So yeah, anyway, nostalgia cars and vintage cars will be on Long Island this weekend. Marty Himes will be making an appearance at the local Long Island racetrack after all those years of not, and he stuck to his guns with that. So my hat's off to him. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up now tonight. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of the show tonight. And wherever your endeavors and plans bring you this weekend, please be safe, please be careful. Give somebody a hug, tell them you love them. God bless you all. We'll see you next week.
Radio.com.